the food was salty. The food was definitely of another era, and it continues to be. Very much. I mean, we have certain key bakeries here, like the Kosher Quality and Kosher City, Cantor's Bakery, some Maxie's. Some of these have survived, some not. But it is the complete opposite of what is suggested in modern pop culture. Pop culture suggests to get away from carbs and various kinds of breads and refined flours and get into fruits and vegetables. And while we did have those, it was very bread based. It was about breads and salty fish. Basically, pickled foods and breads. Danishes and babkas and challahs and challah rolls. This is what I grew up on. And I have a love-hate relationship with it because I love it. But I also recognize, especially the more that these theories come out about this and gluten sensitivity and whatnot, that there's a world in which, it's not the most appropriate diet for now. There was an era in which it probably was, but nowadays in a world of abundance, it may not be the best diet. So I have a love-hate relationship with that, and also get-togethers and Jewish affairs because they are so filled with these things, and yet fundamentally I recognize that they're probably not good for me. And yet I can't stop myself. It's a real addiction. It's a problem. Someone should do a reality show on it. Give me an intervention of sorts. But what's also interesting is learning. I didn't realize about the salty fish and that whole aspect. I don't know why it never dawned on me, but I was speaking with Jeff Yoskowitz, who runs the Gefilte, and he talks a lot about pickling. And I didn't realize, it should have been obvious, but I didn't realize the purpose of pickling and the whole roots of this, which were to preserve things. And this is what was needed. That was, in a sense, almost a form of refrigeration or chemical preservation that was done back in that era. So I always thought, maybe we're just a bitter people, so this is why we're into these pickles and this herring. But then I also realized that is very much, it was a pragmatic thing. The other thing I realized in visiting Poland, which really contributed to my YidLife crisis, was realizing that many of these foods are entirely Polish foods or Eastern European foods, and that even the cheese danishes that I grew up on, I could find the original and better one in a market in Krakow somewhere. And so all of these things that I associated with being at the apex of Judaism and Jewishness, to realize that actually they weren't on paper Jewish at all, was a very interesting paradigm shift for me, which made me realize that there are many, many dimensions to identity. And I can share Judaism with a Sephardic Jew or a Mizrahi Jew in some ways, but in other ways, there's a lot of things that we do not share at all. And I'm actually a lot more similar culturally in some aspects to non-Jewish Poles than I might be to a Jew that grew up in Morocco or Algeria or in France, for that matter. So, and that sort of is a little bit of the thesis or thinking behind what we've been trying to do in YidLife Crisis, which is showing the different scenario. It's a very complex Venn diagram of identity, and there are times when any two people can have some point of similarity versus a third person, and then those similarities and those overlaps can shift, and the world is complex in that sense.